You're watching the First News Hour debate on Times Now Super Prime Time.
Well, the Talwars and all their supporters are blaming the media tonight. They are saying that the media is responsible for this particular verdict. In other words, they are trying to say that the court has gone by what the media is saying. I'd like to just say, before I introduce everyone on the News Hour tonight, is that with respect to those arguments, the media is not manufacturing questions. The media is not manufacturing facts. They are basing them on the basis of the CBI's report. The media has also looked into the role of the CBI and the UP police with as much of a fine tooth comb as the parents. So how is the media being unfairly targeted? Avirukh Sen is a journalist and author. He's writing a book on this. He has put out an entire serialized column on this, and I think very few people besides Avirukh have followed this case as closely, as regularly as he has. So Avirukh Sen, welcome. We have Shobha there with us here in the studio. We have Shri Paratkar, who is aunt of Arushi. She's joining us from Toronto. Thank you very much, Ms. Paratkar, for joining us. Aryaman Sundaram, one of India's top legal eagles, senior advocate R.K. Anand, and Sabah Naqvi, who supports the media in this case. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me. Let's get Avirukh Sen first, who holds the media. Let me not put words in Avirukh's mouth. Avirukh, who do you blame for the verdict?
Who do I blame for the verdict?
Yeah.
There is no one to blame for the verdict. It was a judge's prerogative.
You support the verdict?
Any trial judge has a prerogative to rule which way he wants. There's no one to blame.
What is your view on the verdict?
Credit, in fact.
What is your view on the verdict, Avirukh?
My view on the verdict is that it is a fit case for a challenge, precisely because the body of evidence before this trial court is particularly shoddy and sometimes malign.
And do you believe that...
I will expand on that a little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
Expand on that a little bit. It is this. Yeah. There are two things about this which are critical in this case. The first is the fact that the whole thing has been built up on 4 people in a flat, 2 die, 2 live. So the 2 that lived must have killed the Talwars, must have killed Hemraj and Arushi. Well, that's fine up to the point when you can prove beyond reasonable doubt that there was nobody else in this flat and there was no possibility of anybody entering that flat. Unfortunately, the CBI has not been able to do that through the course of this trial. That's over a year and a half, or even before, through its investigation. The second point, Arnab, is this. The second point is, what is the motive behind this murder? The motive is an enraged father seeing, apparently or allegedly, his daughter and servant in coitus. Now, the first thing you need to prove in order for this to be established, for this motive to be established, is the fact that Hemraj and Arushi were in the same room. Unfortunately, there's zilch evidence on the table at the cold altar of evidence, I'd say, in the trial court, which suggests this. There is no sperm, there is no blood, there is no DNA, there is no hair, there is nothing. There is nothing except a story.
Is it as simple as that, Avirukh? Is it as simple as that? Are you looking only at, with respect, are you looking only at one side of it, Avirukh?
Things are simpler than you think.
No, I know, but I'm
looking at both sides of it because I've seen the evidence. I've seen the evidence, Arnab.
Well,
I see the evidence every day. Well, I've seen it for the last year and a half.
I am sure.
Can the CBI produce?
I am sure you have.
Can the CBI produce a single piece of hard evidence to say that Hemraj was in Arushi's room? In fact, there is evidence to the contrary. There is evidence which shows that Hemraj's blood was found on Krishna's pillow cover several houses away. Now, the CBI said very clearly in its closure report that Hemraj's blood was not found in Arushi's room, which is why we need to close this case. However, what it did is it suppressed the fact that there was a CBFD report, there was a forensic report.
So my question is,
which said
since
Hemraj's blood was found on one of the other suspects.
Avirukh, one second. Avirukh, let's be very clear about it, right? The simple question is this: all those people, and I'm not mentioning you, all those people who have severe problems, and who now say things such as the media collaborated. Rebecca John, defense lawyer, says media collaborated with the CBI as a B team rather than as watchdogs. They opted for sensation. Right? Mukul Rohatgi says, one second. Let's put this question to Mukul Rohatgi says, media impacts the court of justice. KTS Tulsi will be on the program today. He says this. Dipankar Gupta says there's been public enthusiasm of the wrong kind. I would like to ask all of them today. All of them. Where were they? Where were all these people when in July 2008, when it was announced there was no evidence against Dr. Rajesh Talwar, and at that point of time, when reconstructing the scene of the crime, Arun Kumar of the CBI said Rajkumar, Krishna and Talwar's domestic help, Hemraj consumed alcohol, and the whole theory at that point of time was placed on the domestic servants. None of those people, were they there at that point of time? Sabha, let's put that question here. A lot of people who are complaining today of this being the result of a media trial, they were obviously not complaining at all in 2008, were they, Sabha?
Allow me.
So, Arnab, first of all, I want to say that anywhere if a child lands up dead, if such a young girl lands up dead, and it's happening from a particular background, it is going to be a story. The media is not going to stop. It is a story anywhere in the world, down history. This kind of a thing will be a story. Having said that, there is also a section in the media which gave the Talwar version of event very persuasively. So it's not white or black. If a girl is dead, naturally there's going to be public curiosity. Media is going to go out there and put out the story. People want to know. So and the thing about media trial, yes, the media should not go on a witch hunt and media should not do this and that. That's all very well. But ultimately we are talking about evidence which has to stand up in a court of law.
Of course.
Frankly, I mean, on a slightly lighter note, the media story stays for a few days and then it moves on, and then it may come back to that story.
Well,
what do you expect the media to do in this case?
Precisely. I have. There's a great sense of discomfort that one has when the verdict doesn't go your way, or when one section of the media doesn't say what you want them to do, when it asks questions on why the domestic servants were being blamed, that one section of society in this case, and I'm not just talking about the family, get horribly upset. To them, I would like to ask a simple question, and that goes to Shri Paratkar, who's joining us from Toronto. Do you also blame the media, and if so, why? Because eventually it's a judge's decision. Ms. Paratkar, it's not the media's decision.
Yeah, I'm not calling it a media's decision, but and I don't blame the media for the verdict either. So I'm not quite sure where that came from. But I will say that
that's coming from the Talwars and their lawyers.
Okay, I don't have very good audio, so I'm a little bit out of context here. But I heard one of your earlier guests say, what is it that the media should do and certain sections of the society? So I'm not sure what the subtext is here. Are we talking about Punjabi and a girl being killed? Because that's the subtext that I'm receiving.
No, that's not the fact. The question was very simple. To put it very brutally, honestly to you, that in July 2008, when the entire blame was put on the domestic servants, that section of society, which obviously the reference here is to to certain sections of society in urban centers, which feel sympathy and feel that these kind of crimes don't happen.
Okay.
In certain populations or demographics, that section of society, Shobha, I don't think was out there fighting for the domestic servants when this case was decided against them in July 2008. I just get Shobha there to respond to you, and then you can come back. Yes.
It happens to be one of those cases where you cannot remain emotionally neutral. Yeah. And now we have a legal issue, we have a social issue, and we have a legal and the emotional issue. In this case, it was thought to be such a heinous crime, no matter who committed it. A young 14-year-old girl was found brutally murdered.
Yep.
And there were the parents in the next room. Because of the noise of the air conditioners, they said they didn't hear a thing.
Yep.
There was evidence which suggested and still suggests, and it's now legally concluded, that there was no forced entry into that apartment.
Yep.
There was enough evidence, circumstantial or otherwise, built around it to suggest that this girl was, in fact, a victim perhaps of her own parents' brutality. Now, this was a popular conception where no one can establish it still. But so far, we have no motive, we have no weapons. It's true that the police completely goofed up. It's true the CBI, which has a very poor record in India in any case, has made mistake upon mistake upon mistake. Now the Talwars have the option and they will move the court, they will go an appeal. But the case being what it is, you cannot remove the emotive from the legal and the social.
Well,
and there was an uproar, and I was at the receiving end of enormous hate mail when I stuck my neck out and I did say, it looks as if, it appears as if the parents
why do you
are
think you were? Why do you think you were?
Now, I am not a detective, I'm not a cop, I'm not a lawyer. This was a comment in my personal capacity in my column, which is on gender, which is about women's issues. And I said, from all evidence available at that time and from the way the Talwars presented themselves in the public domain, on television, through their various statements in the press, it appeared that they were completely cold and remorseless the very next morning. And everything suggested that it just seemed incredible that any mother, any father, if they found their daughter brutally murdered in her own bed, would be emotionally distraught.
You see,
unless they are exceptional people who have such control over their emotions.
The uncomfortable question which must be answered tonight, Aryaman Sundaram, is simply this. You know, when Krishna, who is the helper in Rajesh Talwar's clinic, when he broke down in court, when the agency produced him for the extension of his remand, he said that they kept beating me. They kept beating me and did not allow me to sleep night after night, and they tortured me. I am innocent. I was asleep at home at the time of the murders. Nobody fought for him.
Exactly.
There was, of course, a certain class bias, Aryaman Sundaram. Nobody fought for him. The matter was more or less settled. The discomfort was when the CBI closure report came up. Is that right or wrong, Aryaman Sundaram?
Arnab, I'm going to say something which you and much of the media may not agree with. It is no doubt a fact that people did not fight for Krishna when that happened.
Yes.
No doubt a fact. It is no doubt equally a fact that people were equally quick to blame the Talwars when the entire issue of whether it was the Talwars who were involved came up. The fact is, the public is very, very, very reactive to what the media says.
But the court...
And the fact also is that, please let me finish, because I am going to answer your specific question about the court and the media, and I intend to do so because much has been said about it. But what I do want to point out is, let's understand the present day scenario. The days are gone when media reporting was stating facts exactly and saying in almost a boring way and just setting it out as a recital of facts. Today's media reportage, probably because the times have changed, everything else has changed, what the public is expecting to see from the media is different, is far more exciting, it's far more interesting, and it is also giving various opinions, whether directly or under the surface. Now, these opinions do come out from the media. The audiovisual media also is dramatic in its own way. So whether
my question to does that same influence work on the agencies, Mr. Sundaram? Because when Arun Kumar came out and gave a clean sheet to the
answer is,
when Arun Kumar, allow me to complete, when Arun Kumar came out and gave a clean sheet within weeks to the Talwars, contradicting what the UP police had earlier said, how come the same influence does not apply on Arun Kumar?
Well, the same influence, I must say, has applied in a very large way in the CBI subsequent action or inaction, which, as Shobha just said, it's more likely the latter than the former. But what I am trying to point out is, I am not blaming the media. It's the Times. It's the Times. The public wants to have an opinion. And
This
the
is,
public wants the media
this
to
is,
give them the facts
I completely-
in a way that they can actually make an opinion.
No, that's-
now, when the public has an opinion,
I don't think,
I do not feel we should extend it to thinking
Sir,
that the media is going to affect a judgment.
Sir, the CBI,
According to me,
sir, I
a
think
judgment cannot be
Mr.
affected
Sundaram,
by the media.
Mr. Sundaram, the CBI gave two completely different versions. The media questioned this massive discrepancy. It should have. If the media had not questioned it, you and everyone else, including the Talwars, would have said the media is not doing its job. The media examined the role of the CBI as it does in every other case.
Right. I'm agreeing with you.
No, eventually it is the court
Arnab,
which...
I think we are both talking the same language here.
but eventually...
I am saying today's public expects the media to be forceful. Now,
Sir,
the media is forceful. Naturally, that affects
Can I
opinion. So,
Sir,
when opinion gets affected,
we
we then turn around and blame the media. I'm
Once-
saying we've got to accept today's day and age's change.
Well, I don't
But
think
it's
so.
a far cry.
I
And
remember...
I would hate to think
No.
that a judge or a judgment is affected by the media.
No, I think
it is,
Mr. Sundaram, I think it's finding an easy target for all those people tonight who want to blame somebody for what the court has done. They forget that while denying the bail to the accused in Railgate, the CBI judge in a
How could you
CBI...
ever blame the court for what the court has done? I'm sorry,
Sir,
to say that is to really be very presumptuous.
Sir, no,
It is to presume that the judge is going to be affected by the media.
Sir,
I don't believe the judge was affected by
So
the
if the
media.
judge
I
is
may
not-
not agree with his
so
judgment,
if
but
the-
I do not believe he was affected by the media.
So that defeats...
And anybody who says
But does it-
judges are affected by the media, I'm sorry.
But does it, if the judge is not affected by the media, and if the judge, like in the case of Railgate, says that the outer commotion, whether in the courtroom, outside the courtroom, or the media, does not affect the inner calm and reflection that a judge exercises while passing any order or judgment, and they go on to say that courts do not pass orders on the basis of what is being talked outside the purview of the documents placed before the court, then it defeats your entire argument, and that's the central point I'm trying to make here. Let's go to R.K. Anand. 1 second. I just want to get... No, but then for everything, for everything today, especially in a case like this, where Mr. Aryaman Sundaram, there is a family and people who have access to the biggest lawyers in the country. There are so many appeals made and so many petitions and pleas made that, if I am not mistaken, Justice Khehar noted with dismay that Dr. Nupur Talwar was filing frivolous petitions and the review petition was uncalled for. It's not as if the Talwars were not armed when they went to the courts. R.K. Anand, what's your perspective?
Is that a
See, the question is whether the media, is it because of the media the Talwars have been convicted? I'm going to ask a question to myself. It's only because Talwars have been convicted the media is being blamed? Supposing today Krishna and other people have been convicted. Anybody said that the media is not a media trial? 2 murders have taken place. 2 bodies are lying in a house, one on the top floor and one in the bedroom. Of course that the media is supposed to highlight a small girl of 14 years have been killed in a house where the parents are living in the next room and the body of the servant is lying on the top floor. I want to ask a question to myself. Psychologically, if somebody else has committed a murder other than Talwar, for them after committing murder, whether the body lies on the ground floor or the first floor or the top floor doesn't make a difference. Wherever they commit a murder, they leave the body there and they go out. But taking the body out on the top floor, I mean, I can understand that Talwars committing murder and taking the body out, they won't like the body to remain inside the house because they won't be able to sleep. It is impossible for Talwars to contend that the 2 murders took place, the body lying on the ground floor, on the first floor in their own house, and they were sleeping. So today, I think it's very easy to say.
Well, we are getting, R.K. Anand, we are getting responses from the Talwar family.
Look at the FIR.
No, we are getting responses from the Talwar family. First, I think from Toronto, Shri Paratkar, aunt of Arushi Talwar wants to respond to you. I saw Avaduk also respond there, and Dinesh Talwar as well. So I'd like to first I think it was Shri Paratkar, you wanted to respond to what R.K. Anand was saying there.
I did.
Yes, go ahead.
There's 2 quick things I want to say. One, the role of media that you've talked about. I think it's an important role to play, but I think we're all barking up the wrong tree. We're talking about the Talwars versus CBI, the class issues, these issues. I think there is only 2 sides to the story, the truth and fiction.
Well, was it truth or fiction against the domestic servants? Was it truth or fiction against them?
It's the job of the media to follow the truth.
No, was it truth or fiction? How should we swallow it? No, I'm asking you tonight, Ms. Paratkar, with respect to you. 1 minute. Ms. Paratkar, tell me. How is it my job to accept it as the truth?
Because
When the domestic servants, one minute, when the domestic servants are charged,
CBI is saying.
at that point of time, you want me to believe what the CBI says. You want me to swallow it as the
May
final
I answer
truth.
that, Arnab?
One
May
second.
I answer that, Arnab?
Who's that? One second. Dinesh Talwar wants to come in. Yes, Dinesh Talwar, brother of Rajesh Talwar, come into the debate. Go ahead.
Arnab, I firmly believe that you have the same role. You do not play partisan role. You have the same role whether you're talking of the servants or whether you're talking of the Talwars. And your role is to get to the truth. And unfortunately, my only the regret is that even today, I see a statement being made about a body being dragged to the roof. Does the person who made this statement, has he checked the facts? No. And let me tell you, Arnab, provided you have checked the facts, I am with you all the time. Because I rely on you to give me the truth.
No, 1 second. 1 second.
You are important to us.
1 second, Mr.
And the
Talwar.
media has a critical role in bringing that out.
Mr. Talwar, you must remember this, that you cannot simply always, I'm not saying you specifically, but for all the people who are cribbing about the media here today, you consider what the Supreme Court said in the recent case of Asaram, who wanted the apex court to restrain the media from the coverage of his arrest over accusations of rape. The Supreme Court said, and I quote, the Honorable Court said, we cannot ask the media not to report the information they get from police and other sources. If some inmate says something or an investigating officer talks to the media, how can we stop them? The media is reporting what they say. You have other civil or criminal remedies. We are doing our job. And I think today to say that the media does not do its job when we have subjected a member of our own fraternity, Tarun Tejpal, to the kind of scrutiny that the Talwars were also subjected to. So, you know, I think we have a great moral standing to argue this case
I'm
from.
sorry. I did not say that you're not doing your job. I said I respect you when you get to the bottom of the matter. If you
Mr. Talwar,
are pursuing the truth, I respect you.
Mr. Talwar, there is a court out there. The court has decided that your brother, whatever they have judged against your brother, is done by the court, Mr. Talwar, not by the media. You must understand this. If the court, Mr. Talwar, let me ask you this. If the court had ruled otherwise, the media and everyone else, including me, would have had to accept it. You agree with me or not? We would have accepted it. You agree with me? Right? Even today.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Because when you don't want to accept something, you criticize it very vocally. When you want to accept something, you accept it.
Well, I'm very
so
sorry.
the question is, when you accept it, do you accept it because it is the truth, because you have checked the facts, or do you just accept it because the police says it, or the court says it?
Please understand.
If the court says something, would you never question it?
Mr. Talwar,
Are you trying to tell me that the court never questions anything said by the court?
Mr. Talwar, you remember this, that it is one thing to say that the media denied the Talwars a fair trial. I would like to point out to you today, before you are playing victim in this case, that the Talwars, including your brother and your sister-in-law, have knocked on the doors of the judiciary repeatedly for a number of reasons, and every time it was the court that rejected their pleas, not the media. It was the court. In fact, while hearing one of your sister-in-law's numerous petitions, the court said, and I quote, I have noticed that every single order passed by the magistrate having any repercussion is being assailed right up to this court. Of course, the right to avail a remedy under law is the right of every citizen, but such a right cannot extend to misuse of jurisdiction. Those were the words of the court, Mr. Talwar, not mine.
The same court also said,
we submit to the court.
Let me quote. The same court also said the Talwars must be given every opportunity.
And were they not given?
That when they felt aggrieved, they had the right.
Were they?
Now let me tell you
were
something
they not
else.
given? Are you saying tonight they were not given?
That the scientific tests of the... I am not... let me tell you, the court also said, you are quoting a particular judgment. It's out of context. Please keep to the context.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I am saying, no, Mr. Talwar, Mr. Talwar, there is nothing out of context. The context is simply this, and simply this. The context is the repeated tryst of the Talwars with the courts. You have the dates, I have the dates. You go through the dates and I'll tell you what happened on each date because I remember. You have had an opportunity before the courts, which is why I find it strange that today you come and crib about the media.
Arnab, may I come
I'm
in
sorry,
here?
I thought you called me over here.
No, but you are cribbing about the media. I'm not saying you have, I have of course called you, but I want you to know how you declare the media the villain in this case. How?
Again, this is not my quote. I don't know whom you are quoting.
Well, can I tell you what the lawyers have said in this particular case, and you can tell me whether you agree with me or not.
Yeah, what I'm quoting.
Rebecca John says media collaborated with the CBI as its B team. Rather than act as watchdogs, they opted for sensation. That's what Rebecca John said.
Absolutely. This is all I said, that
That's the point.
Arnab, I believe you are a very incisive person. I believe you are brilliant, and you are capable of differentiating the truth from a fabricated piece of evidence.
But please,
unfortunately,
no, it's not in my case.
That is all we are saying. The media should have done that.
It's not in my case.
Sir, it's not.
So 1 second, Shobha is responding to you. I would only say it's not my job.
Sir, exactly, sir.
1 second.
It's not whether Arnab is capable, incapable, has decided the truth, is incisive or not. He is not the court. The court has decided.
Precisely.
So, where is the question of one individual or many individuals in media, outside media, arguing about this when the verdict has been given? And after a fair amount of time, yes, if you're talking about miscarriage of justice, you can still appeal, and you're going to. So if it's about miscarriage of justice, it's something else. But in this case, there has been a double tragedy. A young family finds a teenage daughter dead. If there's miscarriage of justice, there's tragedy number one. If there is none and they are guilty, it's a double whammy and it's a double tragedy. Whichever way you look at it, it's a case that's full of drama, and it's bound to involve people, which goes beyond just legalese.
No, I go back to Aviruk in this. Aviruk, I am on this point because are there certain hypocrisies which come to the surface? And to be clear with you on this, Aviruk, what I'm talking about is that there is a section of the media which will be shouting over the roof at the Talwar's innocence. Did this section also come out in support of the servants as aggressively?
Sure.
It doesn't matter.
Why does it not matter?
I disagree with none of that, Arnab. I disagree with none of that. Yes, please.
No, please continue.
I disagree with none of that, Arnab. What I want to ask you is a simple question. Now, verdicts have been overturned in the past. If this one gets overturned, will we be having another debate on why the media wasn't vindicated on this show? The process of justice is not complete as yet.
It's a hypothetical question.
So why are you waving your flag saying that
hypothetical question?
It is exactly. But
so
it is not hypothetical, Ms. Day, whether the process of justice is complete or not. Please get the facts right. The process of justice is not yet complete. They have the right to appeal.
Sure.
Another court may well or may not overturn this. At that time, what? Will we have another debate?
This debate, Aviruk,
sorry, we were mistaken.
Aviruk, you are aware more than others. No, 1 second. Aviruk, you are aware more than others. You've covered the case and you've been a long-standing journalist yourself, Aviruk. You are aware this debate that we are having tonight is not a debate without context. Because this particular case has become a case study in how the media always gets things wrong. My only limited point, which I would like your point of view, is the job of the media, Aviruk, is to report the facts.
May I make a really quick point?
Sure, go ahead.
It's rude to talk over you, but I will say this. I will say that are you using this judgment on this show to certify good journalism? You know what? We can do much better than that.
No, 1 second, Aviruk. We stay focused on this. We stay. 1 second. First of all, 1 second, Aviruk. You asked a question. Then here's a simple answer to you, Aviruk. This is not a debate on good journalism or bad journalism. But for the last many years, well over 5 years, at every occasion, the Arushi Talwar case, the twists and turns of the investigating agencies, the hypocrisies of the investigating agencies, the mistakes and botch-ups of the investigating agencies, the questions raised by the media over the botch-ups of the investigating agencies have been made into a metaphor of the mistakes of the media itself. Which is where the contradiction is, because when the media campaigns for Ruchika Girotra,
I'll tell you why.
No, when the media campaigns for Ruchika Girotra or Jessica Lal, at that point of time, nobody calls it a lynch mob. Everyone pronounces Mr. Rathore and Manu Sharma guilty. There are no questions raised then. And what is wrong today if I ask why in this particular question in this case, are these questions being brought to the light? That's simply this. I think we must have an open debate on that.
Today is not justice. Arushi's
No,
parents
of
are
course
not
we're having
killers.
an open debate about it,
Today,
which is why I
the real
raised the
killers
point.
are free.
Which is why I raised the
That's why
point. Do
we
we
will ask
need
the
this
questions
particular
that
case or
what's
this
happened today?
verdict in this case to certify for us that we have been vindicated or otherwise? I think
one second. Again,
far beyond that. Let's look
Aviruk,
at the facts a little more.
Aviruk, as I said,
why are we looking at a vindication for the media? You started the show
the question comes from the fact, Aviruk, which you are well aware of. I'm sure you are not aware, unaware, that everyone, including KTS Tulsi, who is KTS Tulsi, Mukul Rohatgi, Rebecca John, and everyone, all these lawyers have, as an outright statement, blamed the media in this case. Let's get KTS Tulsi in, and maybe that will help elaborate the point that I'm making. But before that, you were saying something there, Ms. Paratkar. Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to ask you a question. Do you think that the media has been completely responsible in its coverage of the Arushi Talwar murder?
Well, I think the media has been reporting every twist and turn of the investigating agencies, and the media is not here to stand in moral judgment.
I don't think the lawyers were talking about Times Now.
No, I am asking you here today.
So would you say that the Indian media has been
Ms. Paratkar, let me ask you this question. Do you believe the Indian media's responsibility is to build a case for the Talwars?
Not at all. I think it's the responsibility of the media to follow the truth.
No. So if the truth,
difference between the two.
Let me ask you that if the truth is to bring to light the details of the CBI closure report or the alleged involvement of the parents, is it sacrilegious for the media to do so?
Not at all. But you have to.
So where is the motive coming in?
My point is, we don't send a reporter to either side and just take down what they're saying.
Well, then,
it's to apply critical
I think
again
to that, Ms. Paratkar, you are saying that you don't take a reporter to take down whatever you're saying. You don't want us to take the CBI at face value on the basis of its closure report. May I ask you respectfully in turn, why you expect us to take the CBI theory of 2008, holding the servants responsible at face value, if you don't want us to take the CBI closure report on the involvement of the parents at face value?
Sure, because the CBI, it's inconsistent with its own
How is it consistent? How is it consistent when it declares the Talwars innocent, and how is it inconsistent when it declares when it says the Talwars their involvement could be possible? How is it?
I am saying take everything critically.
But precisely, that's precisely the point. That's precisely the point.
It is not. One second. Critical thinking. Sorry, Arnab, I don't have a very good audio here, but I don't believe that as the media, we've been very critical.
Well, I think, Ms. Paratkar, you don't understand this, that the media is not there as a sounding board to give the point of view of the Talwars.
It's not.
And I don't understand this because, frankly, it is a fact. And I don't know why Aviruk is appearing so hurt in this particular case. The fact is there is an extreme interest in this case.
I'm not hurt at all.
No, there is an extreme. There is an extreme. Either we are open to ourselves as a society or not.
Why should I be hurt?
No, there is an extreme. No, because there is no. Aviruk, realize this, please.
No, it's
there is a tinge.
You've gotten angry about this.
No, one second. Aviruk, please understand this.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. But you must listen. You must listen also to that.
Let's talk about it openly.
Yeah, let's talk about it openly.
I am listening.
So the fact is this, if you just care to listen. I believe that in our country...
Once again, what are you saying once again?
No,
see, I believe, as a journalist of some standing, I believe that our job is what? It is one, not to write fiction, and two, to question stuff, not to be stenographers. A lot of...
I don't understand, Aviruk, how many were questioning. One second, Aviruk, I have a simple question to you, please.
I'll tell you
one second.
I'll give you
one minute. No, you take a counter question, Aviruk, please. Aviruk, please understand this. Take a counter question. Take a counter question, please. I have just one question to you, and one question to you. How many people? How many people were standing there on the rooftops giving how many front pages? How many programs? How much outrage? How many people stood out there when the servants were declared guilty? You tell me.
No.
You tell me today. Shobha, how many people were standing there when the servants were declared guilty?
Absolutely.
How many were? How many were there? Shobha.
No one.
That depended on the number of Obi-Wan sent
Not
by
even
your
one.
channel.
Oh, come
Not
on.
even
No,
one.
come
No
on.
one
About
was
that.
interested.
Please
It was
understand.
the media that fought for them.
I've attended hearings in this case.
Please.
I've
The
attended
media
hearings
that fought
in this
for them.
case where there's one journalist and that's me.
1 second, Aviruk. Please,
It
I'm
was
talking
really
of
the media that
2008.
It's not about
them.
that.
I am talking
No,
about
I'm talking about
2008.
and I'm not best
I am talking
qualified.
about
Let me just
2008,
say I'm
and
not
the
best qualified.
uncomfortable question is this: is there a media bias in favor of? Do some people have a bias in favor of the Talwars only because of the belief that while blue-collared servants can commit heinous crimes, but white-collared men cannot?
Not just that.
Now you don't want me to ask that uncomfortable
No, that's
question.
absurd.
Well, you don't want to ask those uncomfortable questions in the United States.
Please ask it. Please ask it.
Well,
Please ask it. I'll just say it's absurd.
well, I mean, these are very fundamental questions.
No, these
There
are
was,
not.
there was an
No, I know they're
avalanche of
fundamentally,
support.
maybe fundamental to you, they're absurd to me.
Well, they may be absurd to you, but these are questions we need to be asked whether you're comfortable
think-
with them or not, Mr. Aviruk sir.
I think, Arnab, you made an
No, I'm
absolutely
entirely
One second.
absurd statement.
comfortable
One
with them.
second. 1 second,
Arnab,
But answer-
I would like to point
Yeah.
out to you,
Mr. Talwar, can I ask you something? How
Why
many
is it
times? In
that every
2008,
time
I
it
asked you
becomes-
this. Mr. Talwar, in 2008, listen to me, Mr. Talwar, answer my question tonight. My question is to
Yes.
you, and I hope you will give me a straight and honest reply. I want to ask you, Mr. Talwar, when were the servants held guilty? Tell me the date. Tell me the
I
date.
think Krishna was arrested on, I think they were arrested on different dates. Krishna was arrested on 13th of June and the
No,
others
no,
were
no, no,
arrested.
no.
1 minute,
They
1
were-
minute,
they
1
were
minute. Let me
arrested
no.
on the same
few
day.
months
No, no, my
Within
question.
10 minutes, Krishna
Once-
was taken by Ghaziabad police.
R.K. Anand, yes, what are you saying, Mr. Anand?
I am saying within 10 minutes of the murder, the moment was FIR was registered, Krishna was picked up by the Ghaziabad police, kept in custody, an application was filed before the court that they were kept with them on the condition that their life is in danger. They kept with them for 2 months till the CBI came into picture. And then they were arrested much later on. An application was filed in the court of law, make an allegation that they were put in custody and used and tortured them by the Ghaziabad police and same by the CBI.
Right. So my question is, I just wanted to follow up on the line of questioning with Mr. Dinesh Talwar. Mr. Talwar, you are aware that the CBI at that point of time said that Rajkumar in his narco analysis confessed that he and Krishna went back to Arushi's room. They hit her with a sharp object and then they slit her throat. You are aware of that? That they said that in 2008. Did they or did they not say that?
I don't think this is on record, but I think the record of the CBI in the court says that both Rajkumar and Krishna were involved in this crime.
So,
and their scientific tests are positive.
Right. So reconstructing the scene of the crime, Arun Kumar said that Rajkumar, Krishna and Talwar's domestic help consumed alcohol, went to the room, gagged, tried to assault her, scuffle broke out. In that they think the whole incident happened. They also said that there was a friendly entry to the house and hence Hemraj was involved. How many weeks and how many days, in your view, did the CBI take to come to this conclusion? A few weeks? A few days perhaps?
This press conference that you're talking about is 11th July 2008.
11 July 2000, so maybe 7 weeks, 6 weeks? How many days since the CBI took the case over?
1st June.
You welcomed that. Did you at that point of time ask how they had rushed to the conclusion? Did you at that point of time ask whether they had built enough evidence?
This is exactly the point I'm making. Whether it was the servants or it was Talwars, it was your responsibility as the media. Excuse me, are you telling me it's my responsibility to ask these questions?
Did you ask
or was it the responsibility of the media to ask these questions?
Did you ask any
No, I'm asking you, did the media ask the questions or not?
Of course the media asked the questions.
You are making, I'm sorry, please don't try to stop me from speaking.
Mr. Talwar.
The one promise you made was that you will let me speak. Now let me say what you, now let me
Mr.
complete
Talwar,
my
are you
sentence.
answering my question? My question is simply this, that do you believe?
Yes, I'm going to answer your question perfectly. Please listen to me.
The question is this, Mr. Talwar.
Let me answer now.
Mr. Talwar, the question, allow me the question, I'll give you a full time to reply right after that. Just one question I will ask you. Please let me ask the question, Mr. Talwar, my question to you is, do you believe that there was a possibility that the CBI in the first case in 2008 was rushing to the facts? And did you do anything about it?
Arnab, I thought the issue over here was about a media trial. You have changed the topic completely. Number two,
everything is in the context
neither
of the
the
topic.
responsibility for the first team nor the responsibility of the second topic of the second team was mine. It is the responsibility, one second, it was the responsibility, what you were talking over here was, what is the responsibility of the media? The question was, in both cases, it was the responsibility of the media to check the facts. Now let me tell you, it is on record that during one of the conversations, the Times of India reported that Dr. Dinesh Talwar wondered that is it possible that a person could get angry enough to kill based on the scolding which was given, and this is with regards Krishna. So the question is, it is not me who was doing the investigation, and it was not me who was reporting the investigation.
You avoided my fairly straightforward question in that.
I am not avoiding your question. I am saying, what you are saying is, it was my responsibility to ask whether the media, whether the CBI was doing a correct job.
But you don't understand, Mr. Talwar.
Of the media.
Mr. Talwar, today you've got it. You've got it wrong.
Whether it was the servants, and please don't make this into a rich versus the poor issue.
Well, 1 minute.
It is a question of justice. Whether it is a poor person or it is a rich person, your responsibility is to ensure justice. Your responsibility is to ensure that you make sure that all the facts come out. If the facts did not come out about the servants, you are equally culpable. If the facts did not come about the Talwars, you are equally culpable.
Mr. Talwar,
the same stays in both the conditions.
Mr. Talwar,
I'm sorry, I have not changed my facts at all.
That's all right.
I have not changed what I've said from the beginning. In the beginning itself, I told you, Arnab, it is, I respect the media. I respect the media for covering every aspect, but the objective is to bring out the truth.
Mr. Talwar, understand this. The simple point I'm making to you, I made this right at the start. Why don't you understand this? The fact of the matter remains that the CBI's closure report raised a number of questions about the role of the parents. We have utmost respect for whatever the court decides. Court decides this way or that. That's the final judgment of the courts. We respect the courts. The media is not manufacturing questions or manufacturing facts. It's basing them on the basis of the CBI's report. Now, media has looked into...
But does the media know that the facts given in the closure report were wrong?
Sir, that this is
it was the responsibility of the media to check that the facts given in the closure report have been wrongly written in the closure report. They are not supported by the document.
I put that question to Aryaman Sundaram.
Have you checked that?
1 minute.
And if you want, I will show you that whenever you want.
What's R.K. Anand? Yes, Mr. Anand.
See, what I want to say is that first of all, the Ghaziabad police came into picture. For 3 days or 2.5 days, they didn't go to the top of the house to find out the body was lying therein. How much was the influence on the Ghaziabad police to bail out Talwars? Then thereafter, everybody was allowed to go inside the house, the media, everybody was going inside, and that is the reason that the Ghaziabad police didn't do the forensic evidence. When the CBI came into picture at all, the entire evidence was destroyed. What I'm trying to say is that how much was the influence on CBI, how much influence on that Ghaziabad police, and the CBI filed a closure report by saying that their Talwars are not responsible for this one. I'm really surprised. 2 murders taking place, the body lying on the top floor of the house, and it is locked from the inside. And very strange. Who will like to commit a murder, take the body on the top floor and lock that door and bring the keys with them? It's very impossible to believe that somebody outside the house can commit a murder like this.
Whatever the case is, my question to Aryaman Sundaram is this.
Body on the other side of the door. If somebody has told the police there is blood on the door handles, whose responsibility is it to follow it up? There is a police officer on record who has said that he forgot to follow it up. They blame Rajesh Talwar for not providing the key This is a man who's come across his daughter murdered. He's supposed to remember where he keeps every key in the house. Why did the police not break down the door instead of blaming their inefficiencies on Rajesh Talwar?
You know, ma'am, I am not going into the details of the CBI closure report. Otherwise, you can go through point by point by point.
No, and I'm not going
there
through
are
the
there are
report. I'm going
certain.
through the
The
trial.
CBI only
I'm
said.
one of the
No,
big
please understand, Ms.
perceptions
Karatkar.
of
The CBI revealed certain, and I am using the words carefully. This is what was written. Certain peculiar circumstances, which point to the involvement of the parents in the crime. Whether or not these circumstances are to be taken at face value is the decision of the court.
Okay,
so when the court
be.
decides the veracity of whatever is there, then why?
Something I said yesterday.
But then
I said yesterday, if this trial is based on evidence, then the Talwars are not guilty, no question.
Well, you know,
if
I think
this
that's
trial is based on perception or prejudice.
No, I don't think. Aryaman Sundaram, you know, I'd like to get you back on this. The whole thing points down to this. This trial is not based on facts because it has gone against the Talwars.
It's based on perception.
No, but sure, if it had gone for the Talwars, then it would be based on facts.
Because that happens
By the reverse logic, if it goes for the Talwars, it's based on facts. If it goes against the Talwars, it's based on perception. I'm sorry, but you are ascribing certain motives which you cannot ascribe to a judicial process, and we must have some regard for what the court says. Aryaman Sundaram, please, wanted a comment from you on that.
Well, according to me, everyone can very easily look into a judgment and see whether there are faults or not. I, for one, feel that judgment on circumstantial evidence, to quote the Supreme Court itself, should have a chain that there is no escape of conclusion of guilt. The Supreme Court says it should unerringly point towards guilt and should be incapable of examination on any hypothesis other than guilt. If I use these three, maybe as a lawyer I would have various views. But the fact of the matter is a judgment has been pronounced. But there are also two facts involved. One, we have to accept the fact that we expect, and I use the word expect with a very capital E, we expect a judicial officer not to be moved by the media and to take a decision on the way he perceives the evidence before him, and I would really like to believe that is exactly what has been done now. Two, whether we like to admit it or not, the media does have a very large influence on public opinion.
But not on the courts.
Equally, if too many people were not jumping up, as you have said, Arnab, about the Krishna issue, perhaps the media did not play it up big enough for the public opinion to react, because I honestly believe that the media has a huge, tremendous role in influencing the public opinion. And perhaps when everybody is complaining about how the media has affected the trial, perhaps what they're really saying is how the media has affected the public opinion. I wouldn't go so far as to say the media has affected the trial. But yes, media can always affect public opinion.
Certainly, but again, with great respect, Aryaman Sundaram, you are completely right in your description of what is circumstantial evidence. But I remember the O.J. Simpson trial. The entire American media took sides, yet he was declared innocent. So, you know, at some point of time, we must realize that the courts are completely...
I think you have got exactly what I'm saying. I think you have got exactly what I'm saying. I would like to believe, and I honestly do believe, that so far as a verdict is concerned, the media's view may not make that great a difference.
Precisely.
At the same time, I as a lawyer may say, this is certainly not some conviction which should come up on circumstantial evidence like this, because there are two hypotheses possible, and therefore I may not agree with it.
It will be challenged.
That's a different issue altogether.
No, it will be challenged. Go to the High Court, go through the Supreme Court.
I don't think that's the debate at all. I don't think that's the debate at all today. We're talking about whether the media could have influenced the judgment.
Well,
in my view, I don't think media affects a judgment, but it affects public opinion.
Well, I don't know if Mr. KTS Tulsi, you agree with that, because you've been a little unforgiving towards the media in this case.
Well, you know, I believe that when media runs tirades for or against, it demonizes somebody, that he's a killer or he is innocent. It's not fair, because media can influence judges. In the BBC case, House of Lords says that of course judges are human. They watch television. they read newspapers, and even when they don't want to be affected by what is being said in the media, and subconsciously their opinion formation process may get affected. We need to be careful. There is a press council code of conduct for sub judice proceedings, and I think we need to think about it.
Well,
Arnab, you have maintained a certain balance in the reporting of this very sensational murder mystery. But there are channels, there are newspapers which have launched only one-sided campaign. Now that's what is dangerous. Maybe in this case the judges did not get deflected. But there is always a risk of media interfering in the administration of justice, and sometimes resulting in miscarriage of justice.
Well, there are cases and there are cases. To these cases, I'd say there's also the Priyadarshini Mattu case, in which the son of an Inspector General of Police, that there was his acquittal.
Yes.
The case was reopened only after media pressure and public outcry. But that was a case in which fresh evidence came up. In this case, Sabha, and I'd like to wrap up with you, in this case, the investigating agency messed up, repeatedly messed up. And the media simply pointed out, you can't say this thing in 2008 and this thing in 2010. I think the anger of the Talwars today, with respect, stems from the fact they would have rather had the first judgment of the CBI in this case. They would have rather have their parents would have got away, their parents would have been acquitted with what came out in 2008. I think that's where the anger steps in. That when the CBI came out with the first judgment, who are you to keep reporting the case?
Arnab, in this case, actually, I don't think it's not the media's job to give justice to the Talwars or to only reflect their point of view. And frankly, in this case, there was a lot of media which did do that. So this is not one of those cases where the media should just be held up for what is the outcome. However, there was a point that Mr. Sundaram did make earlier, Arnab. We are living in an age where media puts in a lot of opinion. But that's a larger issue. But if it's relevant to this case, I mean, how can you blame a media when a teenage girl has landed up dead? And we are bound to cover it. And there are so many people who are fighting for the Talwar on every channel.
Of course,
there are articulate people who are fighting for them on every channel. So this is not one of those cases where I see a complete disbalance, which can happen.
I'm running completely short.
That is really what
I'm running completely short. 10 seconds to Shobha De, and then I'm wrapping up.
No, she's absolutely right. She's put things into perspective. There was an avalanche of support, a very organized movement
there was.
For the Talwars, and the press was crucified equally vehemently.
I agree. Just one thing I want to say at the end. With respect again, I disagree with you, Mr. Tulsi. I don't think our honorable courts are affected by what people do in the media. The courts will apply their own judgment to the facts at their disposal. Thank you very much for joining me on debate number 1 on the News Hour tonight.